The quiet pulse of independent light. The first time Mara pressed her camera's shutter, it wasn't for a film she'd show to anyone but herself. The sun hung low, a lazy orange syrup poured across the city's late afternoon street, and in that light she saw a world that wasn't a world so much as a question mark. Ears to hear, eyes to notice, hands to film. She wasn't chasing budgets or studios, she was chasing a rhythm she could feel slipping between the minutes of a day. Indie filmmaking, in Mara's mind, was a stubborn flame in a windstorm. The bigger the studio logo, the louder the siren song of conformity shouted. But the flame burned brighter when it had to dodge collapse, when a crew of two could become a chorus of improvisation. She believed that creativity thrived where there was no safety net, only a patchwork of courage, necessity, and a stubborn refusal to settle for good enough. The city knew this language too. Its alleys spoke in cracked concrete and the hum of neon. Its parks offered benches where conversations could bloom, then drift away as if blown by an uncertain breeze. Mara let her camera rest on a tangle of cables at a bus stop and listened. A man in a threadbare blazer argued softly into a taped phone, his voice slipping between regret and stubborn hope. A grandmother with silver braids watched a flock of pigeons as if they were memories in flight. A kid pedaled past on a bike with a basket full of orange peels, shouting a joke to the wind. To Mara, these were not just scenes. They were pockets of possible truth, waiting to be stitched together into something that could breathe beyond the page of a script. Her crew was a handful of friends who believed in the same stubborn creed, that the film didn't belong to a formula, it belonged to the moment of making it. Leo, who cut sound with a precision that felt almost surgical, kept a notebook of tiny sounds. A city heartbeat here, a distant siren there, the flutter of a bird that seemed to be consulting the weather about a choice it would never make. Nia operated the camera with a patient intuition, finding the exact frame where an ordinary gesture revealed a mile of interior life. And Mara, with a camera sometimes too close to the actors, learned to trust what happened when the lens stopped telling and the room started listening. They rented a tiny storefront on a street that looked just a shade too long for comfort. The rent was a sigh and a half, the kind of place where a single radiator hissed like a small stubborn dragon. They turned the space into a studio and a living room, a dual identity that matched the film's own heartbeat, a blend of frantic zeal and intimate tenderness. The project grew not in pristine isolation, but in the shared mess of making, where the walls wore posters that hadn't yet reached the glossy finish of a festival, and where the coffee cups held the faint imprint of late-night conversations. Creativity in indie filmmaking, Mara learned, thrived on constraints. The budget didn't just constrain, it clarified. It forced her to prioritize the right questions. What story needs to be told? What moment must be captured here and now? Who can we trust to bring this moment to life with what we have? The limitations were a compass, pointing toward authenticity rather than spectacle. They didn't chase the perfect LED rig or the glossy color grade. They chased the truth of a scene. The way a streetlight flickered on the face of a character who knew, better than anyone else, what it meant to be unseen and then suddenly seen. The film's central thread wove through the life of a street photographer named Juno, a woman who photographed strangers to save them from disappearing into the city's memory. Juno's work had the quiet gravity of someone who believed that every face held a story worth listening to. Mara found Juno in a cafe where the steam from coffee cups wrote ephemeral silhouettes onto the glass. The two stories, Mara's film and Juno's portraiture, began to mirror each other. Both were acts of choosing what to notice.